Hey, yo, Fro Wrestling Podcast listeners, help us out and click subscribe to show your support. And while you're at it, if you're on our YouTube channel, make sure you enable notifications so you find out every time we have a new episode go live on the Fro Wrestling Podcast. While you're at it, if you are sick and tired of dropping $60 to $100 every year for the latest and greatest wrestling video game, stop it immediately and go to Wrestler Unstoppable, available exclusively through Facebook. Create your wrestler, sign contracts, get involved in storylines, headline pay-per-views, even build your own corporation, all included in Wrestler Unstoppable, available now to all Facebook users for free, and recently added to the Google Play Store the app for Wrestler Unstoppable, so you can play your game anywhere you go right through your mobile device. If you want to become a member of the Fro Wrestling Podcast family and you want your name in the shoutouts like our buddy Harold in St. Louis, check out our Patreon page at patreon.com/Fro Wrestling Podcast and sign up today. We'd love to have you as a part of the family. And for the month of January, our ongoing promotion, anybody who contributes $25 will co-host an episode of Going Live with me on one of our Saturday Night Live episodes. And for our $10 a month contributors, you'll be entered into a drawing for one winner to also co-host an episode of Going Live. Hello, everybody, and welcome to this live episode of the Fro Wrestling Podcast. For those who were asking, got a few questions. They said, Fro, where is the tournament voting for this week? The tournament is not up yet for the new tournament. If for those who missed our last episode, you guys completed the greatest female wrestler of all time tournament, and you guys did a great job. Alundra Blaze, aka Medusa Maselli, being our winner. Same thing with our year-end awards. You guys did a great job. Congratulations to Kenny Omega for being voted Wrestler of the Year. And it was just a great experience. So thank you to everybody who took part in those voting opportunities. Your newest tournament offering is on the way. I am in the process of putting it together, and that new offering I'm proud to announce tonight. We did the greatest world champion of all time. We did the greatest intercontinental champion of all time. We did the greatest tag team of all time. We've now done the greatest female wrestler of all time. We're going to go a little different, and we're going to look at one of the most influential periods in wrestling history, the Monday Night Wars, and we are going to select the key talents from the Monday Night Wars and bracket them out into a tournament of the Monday Night Wars. That will be our next tournament offering, coming to you soon from the Fro Wrestling Podcast. When that is available, I will be sure to let you know in one of our upcoming episodes. But in the meantime, I just wanted to say thank you for everybody who makes those tournament voting options so engaging. I love what you guys do. You guys are great at this fantasy booking stuff. If you are new to the Fro Wrestling Podcast and you've never listened before, don't forget you can go to the frowrestling.com webpage where you can find out all the topics that are coming to the Fro Wrestling Podcast. And the reason that's important is you can call into the Fro Wrestling Sound Off line at 267-642-1160, where you can give us your questions, your comments, everything you want us to talk about here on our episodes in what's known as a talk-to-text service. You speak to the phone, it will text message it to me, and right here live on an episode or throughout the week, getting ready ahead of another episode, you can get your comments into the discussion. I see my buddy John, the sports guy in Hatfield, is on the line with us tonight. How you doing, John? Great to see you're here. I love John. He is one of my most loyal listeners. Great guy. He's a huge fan of the Worldwide Wrestling Alliance, as am I. For those who were not aware, we are coming up next weekend on the 13th at Zern's Farmers Market. Worldwide Wrestling Alliance will be presenting their next show. It should be exciting. They have crowned a lot of new champions recently. New world champion at the last show, Molson. Jack Molson finally won a championship from Ken Andrews. The Atkins brothers won their tag team championship a couple weeks prior. So it's been a lot of action in the Worldwide Wrestling Alliance. If you're anywhere in that area, by all means, check out that show at Zern's Farmers Market. It should be fantastic. I want to get right into a really exciting thing this week for those who are diehard wrestling fans. Many of you know Wrestle Kingdom took place on the 4th, and tonight, just a few moments ago, the first 3-hour episode that is going to air on Access Television aired. It was fantastic. I was thrilled to hear the results the other night when they came in. Actually, first thing in the morning when I woke up, I read the results. I found some people were streaming the matches on Facebook or YouTube or wherever, and I'm going to be honest, I checked them out there. I didn't pay for it. I'm not the best guy in the world for that. But the wrestling action itself was off the charts. I actually saw in response to Wrestle Kingdom that Ty Dillinger was online and was really thrilled with the production and the wrestling content and the quality, and was really specifically proud of the Omega Alpha versus Omega match. And he took a little bit of flack for his commentary on how great Wrestle Kingdom was. And I love that he fired back at the people giving him an attitude saying, hey, listen, I'm a wrestling fan. Anybody who doesn't want to watch wrestling, you shouldn't be tuning in at all. He said all the guys, tons of the guys at WWE are watching the show too. They're all excited to see what Chris Jericho was going to do. A lot of them really love the work of Kenny Omega and a variety of the other talents there. Kazuchika Okada and Naito tore the house down. For those who have not seen it yet, I'm not going to tell you everything that happened. What I will tell you is this. One, I'm going to recommend you take a lot of time to really watch closely the Cody Rhodes versus Kota Ibushi match. It was fantastic. Absolutely a Matt classic. As you would expect, Chris Jericho versus Kenny Omega was a lights out, amazing match of the year quality performance. And in the main event, Kazuchika Okada taking on Tetsuya Naito, which I actually predicted that Naito was finally going to be the man to unseat Kazuchika Okada. I said I wouldn't give everything away. I will say that did not happen. I was thoroughly shocked, and I don't know if I'm happy or sad about that. It establishes Okada as the premier talent. Not that he wasn't before, but when you go through what could potentially turn into a 2-year program as world champion, that's impressive in today's wrestling world. People are always clamoring for a new champion or some new banner flag bearer or something of that nature, and Okada is the man for New Japan. So what a great show. If you have not seen it yet, find it online, buy their network. It's another $9.99 a month. Do whatever you got to do to see Wrestle Kingdom 12. It was off the charts. And that's without talking about a lot of the other matches. Tanahashi taking on Jay White. For those who don't know, there was some more action the following night, which we're going to get into a little bit on this episode. But there's just so much that was going on. It was fantastic. And I was really thrilled and very amazed with the product value of what was put out there. I thought that the whole company should be very proud of what they did. The big breaking news that I want to put out here for tonight's episode is the following night. So after Wrestle Kingdom, they have another event called New Year Dash. It's the night after Wrestle Kingdom. It's where they start setting up all their new feuds. And at New Year Dash, Chris Jericho, supposed to be a one-off going to Wrestle Kingdom taking on Kenny Omega. Chris Jericho shows up and attacks Tetsuya Naito from behind at New Year's Dash. Huge news. This tells you very clearly that Chris Jericho is not going to be a one-off. He's going to give yet another dream match against Naito at some point, and this is a great way to kick off a new feud. I know some people are a little frustrated that Jericho's going so quickly from Kenny Omega onto Naito, but I think there's a reason for that. And here's what I think. First off, the Omega thing, right now, Kenny Omega needs a legitimate challenger to the United States Championship that puts him in peril and even may potentially take that title from him. I don't know if that'll happen for sure, but they need something like that. And there are a lot of avenues they can go with that. They may even go with something where Cody challenges Kenny Omega for that championship. There was some friction at New Year Dash between the Bullet Club leader and his subordinate. So that's a possibility. But in the case of Tetsuya Naito, Jericho attacking him gives a great program heading forward into 2018. And then there was some huge news, conversations, so to speak, on Chris Jericho's Twitter feed where he was responding about the match with Omega and how amazing the match was. And I love seeing that Omega put out there that there really wasn't a winner and that sometimes those are the best matches. It leaves the fans wanting more and all this. And it was a great, very humble response from both wrestlers about their match. But the most important part of the response was that Chris Jericho alluded to his cruise, the Rock and Wrestling Rager at Sea, where Ring of Honor will be presenting their stars as well as several rock bands appearing. And Jericho said that Jericho versus Omega may need to happen at the cruise. Many of us suspected that was a possibility to begin with, thinking that was where the match was going to take place, and then it took place at Wrestle Kingdom. However, a rematch on the cruise does not seem out of the question. Now, let me pose this to you. What would you say if Jericho gets another run with Omega ahead of the cruise and takes that IWGP United States Championship, and then they're tied 1 win apiece, and the match that is like the The end of the feud is on the cruise where Omega regains the United States Championship. That's something I would look at if I was New Japan, Chris Jericho, and even Ring of Honor, because they'll be the biggest representation on the cruise. Should be very, very exciting. Going to look at a couple things from Impact Wrestling. I know we don't do a ton of Impact Wrestling here, partially because they record episodes so far in advance, and sometimes it makes it more complicated to find engaging, exciting things to talk about, because our fans, you guys, the ones I'm talking to right now, you know that if you tune into this podcast, that you are a diehard wrestling fan, and you are pretty well attuned to everything that goes on in the business. Half of what I've already talked about probably you already knew about. Just hearing my perspective is a little different maybe than somebody else's. And I appreciate that. Thank you so much for your loyal listening. But one of the things that really was interesting to me that I saw this week is that Jeremy Borash, the announcer for Impact Wrestling, and Abyss, who's been a longtime wrestler, are the only two original TNA Impact Wrestling employees. Everybody else is gone. Doesn't matter who it was. The biggest stars to the small stars, none of them have been there the whole time. Jeremy Borash and Abyss being the only two left, which says a lot about two things. One, it says a lot about Impact Wrestling's inability to retain talent. And that's really hard. Like, if you look at WWE's model, you can love or hate their product all you want. But when you look at WWE's product, they don't take a guy, build him up for 3 months, and then let him go. And they get a new guy and build him up for 3 months and let him go. It doesn't work that way. For those fans out there who've been dying for Cesaro to get a world championship run for all these years, notice in my statement I said in all these years. Cesaro has been in WWE for an incredibly long amount of time at this point, as has Sheamus, as has different other talents who have been there so long. Even someone like Tyler Breeze has been there for 5 or 6 years already. So this is not a situation where a company brings a talent in, keeps them for 3 months, and then boots them, which is what we've seen a lot of from Impact Wrestling in the last year. We saw, people come in like Mario Bokara, OVE coming in recently. We don't know if they're going to stick around. We just different talents coming in and out. You had, the X Division title thrown around back and forth between different guys this year before, what's his name? Caval. I can't remember his much more reputable name. Dude dressed up like the video game character from Hitman. But we've seen him come in and grab the championship and get out. And, Sanjay Dutt showing up and then he's gone. And it just doesn't make sense to me. We've been talking all year on this podcast about all the talents that have come and gone in Impact Wrestling. James Storm, the most recent one, losing the Loser Leaves Impact Wrestling match, to America's Top Team. That's another one that's gone. I understand Bobby Lashley's been there for an extended period of time, but he was not there when it started. Jeff Jarrett, in, out, back in, back out, back in a third time. Now he's gone again. AJ Styles, gone. Bobby Roode, gone. Magnus, gone. Even smaller talents, I shouldn't say smaller, but less successful talents, Matt Morgan, Crimson, those people, gone. Awesome Kong and Gail Kim tore the world apart in the women's division, the Knockouts division, and we haven't seen Awesome Kong in years. So it doesn't surprise me that Impact Wrestling only has a couple people left because of the way they do business. However, I will spin it a little differently if you think about it. It also tells you the staying power of a company that does change its talent. Because at the end of the day, Impact Wrestling, with all that change, is still here. Other companies have not lasted as long. Impact Wrestling has put together a product that, even though this week, which by the way, this week, congratulations to Impact Wrestling, their highest rating since August. This week, 330,000 people tuned into Impact Wrestling this week. It was a stacked show, a world championship match, a tag team championship match, the X Division title, the Impact Grand Championship, and the Loser Leaves Impact Wrestling match, all on that one show. So it was a great show. It shows that they have a product that people, diehard wrestling fans, want to see. They need to do a couple things. One, stop taping quite as many episodes at a time, because the spoilers are going to get out, and then we're already going to know what's happening, and it makes it less engaging to tune into when you already know what's going to happen. All right, so that's one issue. Start doing stuff. It doesn't have to be live, but if you record it on a Saturday and play it on a Sunday, or I'm just picking random days, it's a lot more fresh. People have had less time to react to it. You hear the news maybe of who won and lost, but you want to see it. When you tape these things way back in October and early November, and it's been 2 months, and now we already know that James Storm has been eliminated from Impact for 2 months now, it doesn't hold the same teeth as it did back in October, November. Well, we needed to see that back then, not now. So that's what they need to do, because having 2 guys left on the roster doesn't sound like a big issue, and I guess it's not because your company's still in existence, but having 330,000 people tune in every week when WWE, on a down WWE week, is bringing in 3 million, that's a problem. That's a real big problem if you want to lay the claim as the second biggest promotion in the United States. Sanjay Dutt, speaking of, he has undergone surgery for a torn Achilles. What horrible luck for Sanjay Dutt. He really had a decent year going, won the X Division title, something he had not done in the past, and he's hugely important on the creative side of things. Now he's out. He's out with injury. I'm sure he'll still continue his duties on the creative side of things, but if you've never watched his work, Sanjay Dutt is actually a fantastic wrestler, and I'm very impressed with everything he's done going back years. So it'll be sad to see him off the card in the near future, but hopefully he gets back. He has been in the business for quite a long time. I don't know how much longer he wants to do this, but I'm always interested in seeing Sanjay Dutt wrestle. Going to move on to Arrow Lucha, the company that was launched only a short time ago. Rey Mysterio was at their initial show, but what I really want to focus on is that they're now signing exclusive contracts. Sammy Guevara, the first guy to sign a multi-year exclusive contract with Arrow Lucha. It tells me that the promotion has the financial backing and the drive and desire to really put together a lasting impression show. The concern I have is a lot of companies do that, and it doesn't always work out. Lucha Underground only recently announced they'd have their 4th season, and they put on a fantastic product. So hopefully Arrow Lucha can do something unique, grab their segment of the audience, and be able to stick around, hopefully get a television distribution deal, something that helps them grow their product. But in the meantime, starting to sign contracts to exclusive contracts, or contact talents, whatever, to exclusive contracts is a beautiful thing. Hopefully that works out for them. Speaking of talents and contracts, Silas Young, the current Ring of Honor World Television Champion, his contract has expired. And what is interesting about that is he was on vacation in Florida, and he was talking about how he's got this important piece of, hardware, meaning the Ring of Honor Television Championship, and then he realized his contract has expired. He is not under contract to anyone. Now, I'm not trying to say this is like a Monday Night Wars kind of thing, but in all reality, by all legal rights, Silas Young could walk out on Monday Night Raw tomorrow night and throw down the Ring of Honor World Television Championship if he wanted to. I don't think WWE would be that bold to even go there, especially considering Ring of Honor doesn't pose any legitimate threat to their brand. But it's interesting that he tweeted that. He tweeted that he wonders if there's anything else exciting to do around Miami, Florida, almost implying an appearance at NXT, which would be great. I would love to see him in a WWE ring. I think he is I understand that he's been getting some breaks in Ring of Honor this year, but he is incredibly talented and has deserved those breaks for a significant period of time. And Ring of Honor allowing his contract to expire is absolute negligence on their part. If I was him, I would wonder, how important am I really to this brand if they're willing to let me walk? That's absolutely ridiculous. So we'll have to wait and see how that plays out. If I was WWE, I would swoop in real quick ahead of the Royal Rumble and sign that guy, as well as War Machine, who finished up with IWGP Tag Team Championship match the other night. They are now free agents. They are suspected to be going to WWE. It'll be interesting to see if they debut before or after the Royal Rumble. I would love to see them debut as soon as possible. The tag team divisions on both brands are lacking. SmackDown's a little better than Raw. Raw really just doesn't have anybody. I'd be thrilled to see them show up on Raw. I don't think you can put them on SmackDown because they're too similar to Harper and Rowan, all right, to the Bludgeon Brothers. So I think you have to put them on Raw unless you're going to stick them in NXT, but they're too much like Sanity. So I think that Raw is the only place where you could see War Machine and really be excited to see what they can do. Hopefully Vince McMahon has the confidence in Triple H's scouting ability to realize these guys are ready to go as they arrive. So we'll have to wait and see. Speaking of new membership, different locations, at the New Year Dash show for New Japan, the Bullet Club offered a t-shirt to join to Jay White, who had faced Hiroshi Tanahashi the night before for the Intercontinental Championship. Was not successful. But the following night, it looked like things were going to go down, and here the Bullet Club comes to the ring. Kenny Omega calls him out. He offers him the Bullet Club shirt, which he puts on. Then he lays out Kenny Omega, probably there for the purpose of establishing himself as the next challenger to the IWGP United States Championship. And then after throwing down the towel, or the shirt, the next day, he's in a presser, and he is met with Kazuchika Okada, where they announce that Jay White has joined the group Chaos, which, if you are not familiar with New Japan Pro Wrestling, there's multiple different facets of their company. You've got the Los Ignorables de Japón, who is, they're headed up by Tetsuya Naito and his clan of 5 misfits. You've got Chaos, you've got the Bullet Club. There's just different groups that are, the focal point of New Japan Pro Wrestling, and the Bullet Club lost out on a member, and Chaos gained a great one, because Jay White is a great young 25-year-old talent. He is really going to be something in the years to come, and it's really awesome to see him get this opportunity. For those who've been paying attention, in about 2 weeks, we're going to have the WWE Mixed Match Challenge debut on Facebook, and they've been announcing pairings, and I find it so strange. So we've got Naomi and her Uso husband teaming up. We've got Lana and Rusev. We've got Nia Jax announced that she's going to pair with Apollo Crews, since he was put in place of Enzo. We've got Braun Strowman and Alexa Bliss. We've got Finn Balor and Sasha Banks. And there's another pairing. We got Bobby Roode and Charlotte. So there's a lot going on there. And I don't know what the format is going to be completely. My understanding is these teams will compete. The first week they're announcing, I think there's going to be a 3-team mixed tag team, mixed gender match. At the end of this competition, a team is going to win and get $100,000 for a charity of their choosing. What I think is a fantastic idea. I think it's good stuff. But it should be very cool. New concept. Hopefully bring in new viewers. I know they're doing this just to generate interest in internet viewing so they can push their network, but we'll have to see. I have John, the sports guy, put a comment up here. It says, Impact should try having their taping live on television when they air on Pop. It's hard. I know the production value is significantly more expensive for the live shows. However, when you're only pulling 330,000 people in a weekly show, you actually may want to do a little bit of that. You don't have to do it every week, but it'd be nice if every couple weeks or every 3 weeks or once a month you had a live episode. That way, what is the most you're going to tape? 3 weeks, then have a live one. Tape 3 weeks, have a live one. And that way, your news, 3 weeks goes by, you may already have heard what's going to happen. But at the end of the day, it still feels fresh. That's something I feel like Impact Wrestling is starving for, is a fresh feel to their product. And right now, I don't feel that way. Kenny King was in the news today talking about how in the past, he has been approached by WWE to join the NXT roster in December of 2016. He chose not to sign at that time and instead re-upped with Ring of Honor. He's had a great year with Ring of Honor. He had a tumultuous departing of Ring of Honor earlier in his career, but he came back on good terms this time, won the television championship for a while. He's actually done really well for himself. And it was interesting to hear him say that the biggest factor was him being requested to move to Florida to train, which wouldn't have worked well with the different situation he has with custody of his child and everything. And it was really cool to hear that it wasn't that Kenny King was shutting down WWE's offer, but that he had these familial responsibilities and he wants to do the right thing for his kids. That's wonderful. The other thing I found fascinating about Kenny King's comments were that he talked about how it's every wrestler's dream to get to WWE, but it's a bigger dream to be able to feed your family and put food on the plate and a house over their head and keep them safe. And he's able to do that because of what he's done in the wrestling industry, which is awesome. So congratulations to Kenny King on that decision. Hopefully WWE has the foresight to see that was just a decision based on need at the time. Maybe when his son is a little older, maybe he'll be able to make that jump to WWE if they're still open to having him. Former Tough Enough guy, they know what he has. They're clearly a talented individual, so I hope he gets an opportunity at some point. One of the final things I want to talk about Wrestle Kingdom was actually the night after. I shouldn't say that. New Year Dash again. Cody Rhodes getting ready to lay out Kota Ibushi. Omega hits the ring, stops him, and they end up getting into a real heated exchange, a shoving match of sorts. This was prior to Omega offering Jay White the spot in the Bullet Club. And what I'm confused with is, is, as I said earlier, with Jay White attacking Kenny Omega after rejecting the Bullet Club offer, you would automatically think that Jay White is the next challenger for the United States Championship. However, with this is now the second or third time that Cody and Kenny have had issues at the top of the Bullet Club pecking order. And, Cody went on Twitter and said, they got heated for a moment, all's well, or whatever. And that sounds great. That's kayfabe for you. But I think at some point it is very blaringly obvious that they're working towards a Cody versus Kenny match. And I think everybody would like to see that. My concern here is how do you build it without making people be like, okay, come on, this is so obvious. Shock value goes a long way. Look at Chris Jericho showing up in New Japan. That became the story of the entire wrestling year last year. If you think about 2017, and I know I didn't do like a reflection show, but think about it for a moment. What were the big stories of last year? Was it John Cena tying Ric Flair's record for 16 times world champion? Was it something like the Hardys, their disputes with Impact Wrestling and returning to WWE, or their conquest of gold or whatever? Was it Brock Lesnar's constant strange schedule that makes people just wait for him to leave the sport altogether? Is it Braun Strowman's emergence as an elite superstar? Was it The Miz pretty much being the anchor for the Raw brand for a good chunk of the year? Was it AJ Styles versus John Cena match at Royal Rumble? Was it the AJ Styles versus Finn Balor match? There's all these things you can look at from 2017 and try to figure out what the biggest things of the year were. But Chris Jericho coming out and challenging Kenny Omega to wrestle at Wrestle Kingdom probably topped them all. I mean, that includes the Festival of Friendship, Goldberg winning the title, the rematch with Brock at Mania, Undertaker losing at Mania and potentially retiring. I think that the Jericho and Omega thing overshadowed all of it. So now you've got this huge momentum from Jericho Omega. You need to follow it up with something monstrous. And to me, that's the match with Cody Rhodes. And Cody would be the perfect guy to take the United States Championship from Omega. But if that's the case, then why do the angle with Jay White? I feel like the bookers of these angles haven't really thought that through, and they could be missing something very important. One last thing, I shouldn't say that, the last topic I have on my list here, Jeff Jarrett versus Jerry Lawler took place at the Memphis Grizzlies game. They wrestled for the Grizzle Championship or some nonsense like that. Horrible match, a ring that looked like it was like 8 feet by 8 feet. Horrible ending, a chair shot or a guitar shot from Jarrett to Lawler. It's the first time they've wrestled in Memphis in who knows how many years. Jarrett actually looked like he was in a little bit better shape than when we saw him on the video from Mexico and whatnot. I hope he's all right. He went to WWE sponsored rehab. Hopefully he's got his life together. I know a lot of people took to Twitter and were giving him a hard time after that incident in Mexico and the one in Canada where he showed up inebriated for a appearance. I get that. But people dealing with addiction and things of that nature, really, they need support. They don't need all the fan criticism and all those kinds of things. And I'm just thrilled to see he's doing something he loves to do. I'm not going to be the person to tell you that he was ever going to be the draw that WCW thought he was going to be or anything of that nature. It's not about that. What I would tell you is Jeff Jarrett is a passionate professional wrestler who has always wanted to bring excitement and engaging action to the fans. Now, whether he was the person who was performing for you or somebody he booked was performing for you, I think his goal has always been the same. And I don't think he's a bad thing in the world of professional wrestling history. I think he is a great contributor to the history of professional wrestling. Heck, if you think about it, his angle with Hulk Hogan at Bash at the Beach at the end of WCW's run there is monumentally important. So, good to see him in a little bit better shape. Jerry Lawler is timeless. I don't care if he had the heart attack or not. That guy could still go. It's great to see him in any capacity. So, the final topic for tonight's show is all about the Women's Royal Rumble. So, if you go to my website, frowrestling.com, and look in the center of the page right underneath the topics for tonight's episode, which I will not change until I get ready for next week's episode midweek, probably not till Tuesday night or so. But when you go onto the webpage, you can see I listed a screenshot of the betting odds right now for the Women's Royal Rumble. And the reason I put that there and why I'm so fascinated with this is because the number one favorite to win the Women's Rumble is Asuka with 11-8 odds, followed by Ronda Rousey, who's a 2-1 favorite, followed by Paige as a 6-1 favorite, and Becky Lynch is 7-1. After that, you get to some of like the real long shots. You get 10-1 odds for Nia Jax or Nikki Bella. You get 14-1 for Sasha Banks or Charlotte Flair. Bayley 16-1, Naomi 18-1, Alexa Bliss 20-1, Stephanie McMahon 20-1. I find it interesting that Stephanie is that high. Natalia, Lita, AJ Lee, Trish Stratus, Brie Bella, Beth Phoenix, all 25-1. I love it that Beth Phoenix is on the list. It's going to get even weirder. Ready for this? Lana, Mickie James, Nikki Cross, Ember Moon, Michelle McCool, Tamina, Peyton Royce, Ruby Riott, Kairi Sane, Carmella, Maria Menounos, Stacy Keibler, Billie Kay, all at 33-1. Some of those people haven't wrestled in 10 years. 33-1. What I find interesting about it is 40-1 is Alicia Fox. She is the lowest rated active women's wrestler to win the Women's Royal Rumble. And the biggest odds against is Tori Wilson at 50-1 odds. So I find it fascinating. First off, that Asuka's the favorite, considering she's probably going to win the Women's Championship, the last Raw before the show, so she shouldn't even really be competing in the show. The only way I would have Asuka compete in the show is if you're building towards a Raw versus SmackDown Women's Championship unification against Charlotte at WrestleMania. And I know that's ludicrous and it's not going to happen, but that's what I'm saying. I can't imagine the Raw or SmackDown Women's Champion being in the match unless that was your end goal. Ronda Rousey being the second highest favorite is fascinating to me. And then Paige. That really blows my mind. But it shows you that they are really committed to trying to do something really off the wall for this show. Before I sign off, I do want to do this. My buddy Harold in St. Louis has always given me such great conversation. And I'm just going to read you some comments I have from Harold. Harold, I hope you don't mind. I love Harold to death. He is one of the best contributors. He gives me great ideas all the time. Such a nice guy. And he's my number one Patreon contributor. Thank you, Harold, as always. But Harold said to me this week, he said, after watching the past 2 weeks of Raw, I have to say that the show looks packed with talent. And there should really be no reason that they're not making quality shows each week. Now SmackDown is top heavy and just goes downhill fast. They also need to make Rusev Day, the tag team champions, make them a face team. And he says he also has to say that having a tournament for the United States Championship has at least made part of the undercard watchable and gave meaning to a few wrestlers for a match. All three of those messages are spot on. First off, when you go to the first comment about watching Raw, they really are loaded with talent. I keep hearing I get comments all the time, people saying that the independents is where all the talent is. No, I'm sorry. I'm not trying to be controversial or argumentative or anything of that nature. But when you look at Raw's roster, there's no roster in the world, including New Japan Pro Wrestling, that has the sheer number of premium talents that Raw has. And when I say that, I need you to understand, Kazuchika Okada, Naito, Tanahashi, those three, if you throw in Kenny Omega and Cody, those 5 are at the top of the New Japan pecking order. And throw Kota Ibushi in because he just beat Cody. So if you throw those 6, so you got 6 guys. After that, there's nobody on their roster who I would say is any better than a WWE mid-carder. So if you wanted to decide Hiroki Goto, Minoru Suzuki, those guys would lose to Cesaro. They would lose to The Miz and people like that. So my opinion is Raw, talent-wise, is significantly better. And then I have people who tell me, yeah, but Fro, the independent scene, you got people like Matt Riddle and Jeff Cobb and Brian Cage. Yeah, I get it, but they are not locked down to one promotion. Yes, there are great talents all over the indies. Heck, I would argue that Progress and Evolve and ICW, they have great rosters, but they're not all under one umbrella. So yeah, they could put together a spot show with a loaded lineup of talent, but to do it consistently week in and week out, day in and day out, house shows, everything, nobody has the depth of roster that WWE has. So to Harold's point, there is absolutely not one shred of reason why they can't put on a phenomenal show every single week. The top-heavy SmackDown thing, I agree, couldn't agree more. They do have a lot of stars at the top of the card, kind of like a clamoring. They put together this United States Championship tournament, and half the guys are nobodies, and half the guys are like, this guy should be a world championship contender, not a U.S. champion. One guy was world champion, never really went back for it all that much. Now he's going for the U.S. title. It's just bizarre how they do that. The Rusev tag team is phenomenal. I agree. They're really over with the fans. That's organic. People hated Rusev for the longest time. Now they like him. And they like Aiden English. I'm fine with them as a tag team. Make them a face tag team. Beat the Usos. Give them the titles. Rusev is long overdue for another championship run of some kind anyways. So go for it. And when it has to do that, the United States Championship Tournament, I couldn't agree more about the undercard. The Intercontinental Championship was always known as being the champion for the classiest and purest wrestlers and this and that. And I get that. I really do. But you know what? There's other wrestlers who are phenomenal and who get almost no screen time. And that's frustrating because they're great talents. There's no reason that we should have the same 3 or 4 matches crammed down our face every single week. Give some of these lower card guys some more television time. Make it spontaneous and fresh and organic and new, and people will appreciate it even more. That's all the time we have for this episode. Check back with us next episode for the latest news and rumors in the world of professional wrestling. Special thanks, as always, out to bensound.com and purpleplanet.com for producing all the music and sound effects we used in today's show. Today's podcast is sponsored in part by Beazle Games. Bringing a new friend to family game night is easy with sketchy people. Showcase your artistic side in this new game from Beazle Games by going to frowrestling.com and clicking the icon in the middle of the screen to pick up your copy today. And to alleyrepair.com. Contact Alley Repair today for servicing of all your classic skee-ball, pinball, and arcade game needs. If you're looking for your next career move, you're considering college, university life, or you just need some formal training for your next career decision, go to our website at www.frolifeplanning.com for all your higher education needs, as Fro Life Educational Planning is for today, for tomorrow, and for life with Fro Life. Do not forget, if you are in the southeastern Pennsylvania region, get to Zern's Farmers Market next Saturday night, January 13th, for Worldwide Wrestling Alliance Action Live. It is a great show. Really inexpensive admission. General admission gets you great seats anywhere in their small arena, and they got some really great, unique talent. Please check that out. They are a great show. I'm Fred Froelich, better known as Mr. Fro, and I just want to thank you so much for taking a few moments with us tonight. If you're looking for more wrestling news and rumors, by all means, go to www.sportsjunkies101.com for articles on the world of professional wrestling, or go to frowrestling.com and click on In Fro's Corner for my latest articles on the world of professional wrestling. Until next time, everybody, take care and have a great night.
Thank you.